Another night of airstrikes targeting Odessa, so frequent at the moment and so often deadly towards civilians, particularly troubling numbers amongst the rising death toll here, particularly Timofey, a 4-month-old boy, and Mark, a toddler who would have turned 3 on Sunday. Hard to tell often if this is the purposeful attack against civilian apartment blocks like the ones that were hit over that night, or whether this is a mistake by the Russians who think they're hitting something else, or if they simply just don't care. But it's deeply frequent, deeply troubling, as you just heard then, claiming the lives of the very youngest. It's also potentially a sign of what Ukraine says is one of the first things that will suffer because of a lack of Western aid, and that's air defences. Russia is also fielding huge amounts of drones and aviation bombs at the moment. They seem to have a huge supply of those, and it comes too amongst troubling signs on the front line, particularly around the east near where I'm standing, near the town of Avdiivka, where Russia took that town about 3 weeks ago now, Ukraine withdrawing from it. But since then, they've been able to apply intense pressure, moving forwards and taking some of the villages to the west of that. 3 confirmed that we know of, but the area that Ukraine essentially declared its new defensive line now appears to be under intense pressure from Russian assault. Some geolocated drone footage suggesting, in fact, that one of the most important villages that Ukraine thought it would hold on to defend that front line, Orlivka, may now be partially under Russian control, or at least destroyed beyond any kind of recognition. This is troubling because it suggests Ukraine is not necessarily in control of its defensive back lines, and it may suggest greater Russian momentum than is being discussed publicly by Ukrainian officials. Also, too, the new commander of Ukraine's forces, Alexander Syrsky, for the second time berated some of his commanders for poor tactics, saying that they had the staffing, the equipment that they needed, but they simply hadn't done their job, and so now he needed to send advisors in, or in some cases make personnel changes. Stark comments, frankly, in the middle of a pitched battle from the key commander here in Ukraine, new to the job after his replacement was taken out by President Zelensky. The second time that Mr. Syrsky has indeed suggested that his commanders are not up to the job in this area, and it comes amid signs that Russia is really on the front foot here, on the front lines, with territory changing hands. Potentially stark weeks or months ahead here for Ukraine as Western munitions and aid dries up fast, and they begin to see what that really means on the battlefield. Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, Eastern Ukraine.